Dream Weaving in the Eye of the Storm, The Cottage, Chapter 1, Part 2. She was now stepping out of the shower, his shower, dripping wet, reaching for the fluffy ivory towel he had laid out for her, drying off as though wiping him into her skin inmost as possible, so as never to forget any part of this moment or him. Then she smiled at the sight of his belongings that he had so caringly chosen for her, forgetting nothing. His clothing, rapturously imported, the seductive smell of him on every article that brushed over her skin and rested delightfully upon her feminine form. Once fully attired in his comfortable, well-chosen items, she hung the towel and politely situated the room. Then she sashayed out of the steam-filled climate and back down the narrow hall toward his bedchamber, where he stood charmingly grinning, having just popped out into the hallway to meet her. Presently, he was stretching his sweatshirt over his head, hair tousled in the process. She silently noted that he impressed a constancy of smile whenever he looked at her. Similarly, unhesitating reciprocity inspired her to respond to him in kind. "Hungry?" he asked. "Yes," she replied. "Thought so," he began, pausing to touch the wet strands of her hair, freeing a tiny piece clinging to her cheek before continuing. "I made you something to eat while you were in the shower and whirled out the barbecue to make dinner tonight, in hopes, of course, you will stay." He had made a nicely finished steel barbecue with his own hands. The outside grilling apparatus was an impressive sight, standing comfortably high with beautifully detailed carved designs. He had completed this project during his days in Tucson, under the extreme heat of the desert sun. During this brief stint of his living in Arizona, he enjoyed creating anything he could with a blowtorch and a newly acquired plasma cutter, both of which he was quite passionate about. Thoroughly proud and thrilled the day he first obtained his tools, he happily and eagerly shared the news of his new acquisitions over the phone with her on that very same day, relishing endlessly in the joys of his undertakings despite the scorching climate he had to labor under to find a quality in him she found admirable. His earliest project had been a fire-breathing pumpkin meant to amuse children trick-or-treating on Halloween, bringing them laughter and glee, leaving him a deep scar transecting his beautiful hand, received during the construction. This scar was precious to her, as were each of the scars engraved upon him. They were mapped like a constellation in her mind, not for the pain imposed, but for the stories entwined across every inch of his body. These permanent marks revealed elements of his character she appreciated about him, as well as being telltale reminders of his adventurous nature and generous heart. In the fabrication of the barbecue, he had chosen to emulate images reminiscently reflecting his days under the hot Arizona sun. There were intricate, burnt-like carvings of the mountains that surrounded the town he had lived in for a short time, and silhouettes of cacti that seemed more like mighty men in a barren oasis, of which he paid particular artistic homage to the saguaro that requires 75 long years to grow a branch. Among the depicted images were numerous representations of desert animals amid tenacious plant life in rare floral bloom, arranged symmetrically around a magnificent phoenix that appeared to be rising from flaming ashes, and that equally prevailed as the focal point of the design. He had once shared that this stunning rendition of work was inspired in response to a piece of her art rendered in soft pastels that she had framed and given him as a gift. He had hung that particular piece of art in his office. The key difference between the art and his barbecue was the focal point of the art she had given him had been a pair of eternally entwined lovers, locked in an embrace. It was part of a series of artwork she had been working on at the time. He had expressed his being quite fond of the images of the lovers, so she had created one with a pair of lovers just for him. Her thoughts gradually returned to his question, to which she inquired, "What is the occasion?" referring to his bringing out the barbecue. "You," he tenderly replied, adding with even more affection, "You are the occasion. Now please eat a little something while I check on the propane for my outdoor cooking contraption." Taking her by the hand, he conveyed her over to his sofa. He invited her to sit as he handed her the food he had prepared while she had been in the shower, which consisted of a satisfying sandwich accompanied by a bubbly drink. "I'll be right back. Wait here. I won't be gone long. Don't disappear on me," he sweetly stated, kissing her forehead, bringing a smile to her lips. Redirecting to take leave from her, he treaded toward the front door, unlatched the screen, and hurdled the entryway to bridge the porch. Disembarking like precious cargo from a ship, he slipped past impeccably placed timber planks in his delayed descent of the front steps that resonated with an echo, reminiscent of the sound of a dissipating drum, with each step that gained further distance from her. Once he had stepped fully out of view, and she could no longer hear his footsteps departing. It was as though her surroundings began to fade, like an old, forgotten photo, tattering over time due to the unforgiving scrutiny of harsh daily doses and unmitigated exposure to the sun. As the picture of her surroundings began to dissolve, her eyes slowly closed.